Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week my guest is Steve Maidment. Now Steve is a friend of mine who's a homosexual man, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get him on the podcast. I've known him for quite a long time and he's always been very open and honest about this sort of thing, so I approached him and he said he'd be happy to talk about it. Now what we get into is, as Steve's a bit older than I am, he's in his mid to late 30s, he grew up in the 80s, so the sort of, the climate for a homosexual is very, very different from what we know about it today, but there's a lot of odd similarities as well, which I think is a really interesting thing that we get into on this podcast. He goes into what it was like growing up in school when being gay wasn't really a thing that was spoken about and the sort of feelings he had from there, as well as his story of how he sort of came out to his fellow classmates as well to his parents and things. And it's a very interesting thing to hear about, especially back 20 odd years ago when it was not as accepted in society. So it's a really good look, I think, and it's very important for people today on both sides of the political spectrum, whatever your beliefs are, is to listen to this and really think about what it can be like. If you're homosexual and you haven't come out yet, maybe you can listen to this. It may help you a little bit. Or if you're heterosexual or anything that isn't homosexual, essentially, you could listen to this and it could educate you into some sort of give you a better sense of empathy, a better sense of sympathy, thinking about what it's like to be like that. So I found it was a fantastic chat, and it's someone I've been wanting to get on the podcast for a while to talk about these sort of things, as I've been quite fortunate in my upbringing where, as I've been a straight white male, I haven't come face to face with any direct prejudice due to basically biology that I can't control. So I think there's a really important chat and I really enjoyed it. This is just part one, and part two will be out next week. There's no promos this week, so I'll get straight into the show once I'm done talking and you hear the little intro tune. At the end of the episode, I'll get into all the usual jazz. I'll talk about what's going to be in part two, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think we'll crack on basically. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, that sort of jazz. You can email us, rate us on iTunes. If you're a regular podcast listener, you know the general drill. And if you do any of those things, then I thoroughly appreciate it. So yeah, on with the show, and I'll be back at the end. Welcome to Genuine Chit-Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton. Space. I'm definitely going to spill over some water. Alrighty then. Well, I'm here with Steve. I already started recording. So I'm here with Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Basically, I wanted to get you on here, as we discussed briefly, because I've known you for 15 years, isn't it? Probably.
It's quite a while. I've known you since you were a boy.
Yeah. So and I think you're probably. I don't know that many homosexuals. That's basically... Yeah, I've obviously got my cousin Charlotte, who's a homosexual female, but homosexual men, I don't think I know that many. There's a guy I knew in school who's my housemate Nikki, her best friend. He's called Rob, and I knew him from school, but I wasn't as close to him as I am to you, because obviously you're so close to like Rob and Catherine and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of get you on here just to talk about it, because I'm very interested in it all. So,
yeah.
Excuse me. So I just want to ask probably the first question to ask about it would be, how did you always know, like, sort of thing, like, or what age did it kind of click with you, or that sort of thing?
So in hindsight, I can look back and think, okay, so that's what that feeling was.
Yeah.
But so when I was going to school, there was this thing that was introduced called Section 28.
Section 28.
Section 28. So right. Section 28 was a piece of legislation or something that was introduced by Margaret Thatcher's government,
right,
which basically prohibited the promotion of, and this is obviously, I'm not giving you the direct quote of what it was, but the promotion of homosexuality as a normal
right
thing, which meant essentially that schools didn't go anywhere near it at
all.
all. So essentially, I didn't know anything about gay. I didn't know that you could be attracted to anyone other than females. If you were
I think when I was younger, in fact, when Rob and Catherine, when they didn't speak about you like there's a gay man we know, but it was because I was quite young when I met you. I remember it was just quite natural, so I never really questioned the fact that some people were, some people weren't. But it's like, as you say, like people, especially even now, still you're almost assumed to be straight. That's kind of the thing. Of, yeah. It's because it's generally the majority. But sorry.
Yeah, and it's it kind of goes right back to when you're a child. Really, if you think about all fairy tales, they're all kind of like, so one day you'll be Prince Charming to some princess, or a princess to some Prince Charming, and you get swept off your feet, you get married, you have children.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. So it's almost kind of instilled in you from a young age that that is going to be how life is, and then when it isn't, particularly if you don't know that there's any alternative to that, it can be really difficult.
I can imagine so.
And I mean, I genuinely thought that I was mad.
Wow.
Thought that I was really severely mentally, something was wrong with my brain.
And you were, and obviously around that time as well, because this was, not to put a specific age on you, but this was about 20, well, actually, no, probably a bit more than that, about 20 odd years ago, wasn't it, or so? I don't want to specifically make you tell your exact age.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm a young looking 37, so that's fine.
Yeah, don't look a day over 30.
No, thank you. 21.
But yeah, so obviously when you're younger as well, as you say, it is with a lot of the stories and fairy tales and sort of a lot of the media you watch as well. It's the sort of the standard, and obviously a lot of people don't know this. And when I found this out a year or so ago, I was so blown away and angry that I couldn't even fathom it. It was that being gay was illegal until I think it was the late 60s or the 70s, and I was just like, when I first heard that, I was like, that can't be right. Then you look it up, and it actually is, and I was like, what? How come? It baffles me how they can even do that. And obviously I imagine it frustrates you as well, which is knowing that when people say things like it's a choice and that sort of thing.
I mean, it's nonsense. No one would choose to be, treated as unfairly as people have been throughout history. No one would choose that. Even the worst kind of sadist wouldn't want to be as persecuted as gay men, gay women, and all the other LGBT plus. Kind of people have been over the years. So for anyone to suggest there might be a choice, it's laughable, really.
Also, what's funny is there's a lot of the time the religious people who say that sort of thing. Not obviously everyone who is religious says this, but obviously a lot of the anti-gay sort of ideology comes from religion, and it's whenever people said that, gay's a choice. My thought is always, so if a guy is saying that, for example, it says, well, so you could choose to enjoy penis in your mouth, but you're choosing not to. That saying it's a choice is almost saying everyone's gay, but some people just kind of choose to go for it. And it's like, that's actually that's almost countering your own point. It's the most baffling thing about it. But did you, when you were younger, you said that obviously you felt mad. I assume that because it wasn't in the public eye, no one your age really spoke about it, sort of thing.
No.
Is that?
And my parents didn't speak about it. It just literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I did not know that you could be anything, that I could be attracted to anyone other than females. And when I started feeling attracted to, or started at least realising that I had an attraction to males, I genuinely thought there was something wrong with me. Which was pretty, I mean, it's shit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I completely agree with you there. That's, I mean, when you're, what sort of age was this? Was this sort of?
So probably 12, 13 years old. I started kind of, it's puberty. That's when very often these kind of things, or back then, very often these sorts of things would come to the fore, because when you started actually being attracted. To people.
Because it's a real weird thing, attraction, isn't it? Like when you kind of. When you're with someone and you feel that, I call it like a spark, almost in a sense, or there's many words for it, sexual tension, or there's a spark, or there's this, it's so hard to describe. And when you're 12 and like a preteen as well, life is so confusing as it is, not only with hormones and social standings, as well as trying to plan your life and all the social pressures from that, mixed with everything else that makes being a human quite difficult. You've then got, obviously, this on top of that, which is not only... Nowadays, even still, people who are homosexual, even in England and places like that, who are sort of meant to be ahead of the curve socially, people are still prosecuted and still gay slurs being used negatively and these sorts of things. Compared to, I think it's Uganda or somewhere along those lines, where being gay is still illegal. And a lot of places, I think Russia, they obviously had that thing where they were basically saying being gay is illegal, and people were getting beaten up in the streets for being gay, and that's fine, essentially. People were in Russia were acting, and I was just like, how are we living in this world? And yet this is 2018 or 2017, and it's like, well, back 30 years ago, that's 25 years ago, that's still not having it in the public eye, and you go back even further than that, obviously, to before that, and it was illegal. So it's just
it is crazy. I mean, it's not illegal in Russia, but it's illegal to promote homosexuality as a norm,
I see. Okay,
very similar to kind of Section 28. So yeah, and it is shit. There's still a big proportion of the countries around the world where it's illegal or punishable.
Yeah,
for being gay.
Yeah, especially a lot of the more religious sects of sort of countries. Obviously, not every country. I have to keep clarifying my overgeneralizations, but obviously, generally speaking, Christianity and Catholicism, it does condemn homosexuality, even though obviously it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And obviously Islam, that condemns homosexuality as well. And in a lot of the countries that are quite high in Muslim population, because it says in their doctrine about homosexuality, the extremists will take it that step further.
Yeah.
And you heard about the homosexuals being thrown off rooftops and things like that by, I think it's members of ISIS and stuff.
Yeah,
It's crazy, and it just baffles me the world can even still be like that at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with going back to when you were sort of 12, 13, and when you were kind of, I almost describe it as almost a sexual awakening, because that is around that age where most people generally sort of, I think most men, I think girls might be a little bit younger, but men, you flower in a sense, you go through puberty. So
flower.
I couldn't think of the word. It's a terrible way of describing it, because that's more of a female thing of like deflowering is like, but kind of becoming, it's almost the more adult things was when you start having actual relationships, because when you're before that age, I didn't have any relationships till I was in college anyway, but even the ones in primary school, you'd be in a relationship and then it would be like hold hands for like 5 minutes during lunchtime and kiss them on the cheek, and that would be it. But obviously when you become older and sexuality starts becoming a part of it, it complicates matters so much more, and especially with the lack of education. So what sort of age was it where you realised you weren't necessarily going mad, and it was more of this is just how things are? Like, did someone tell you, or?
I can't remember exactly how that came about, but I remember being about 15 and hearing somewhere about bisexuality and homosexuality and that sort of thing. It might have been that we covered it in biology.
Okay, yeah.
I'd be surprised if we didn't, because it wasn't promoting it. You can just kind of talk, very passing sort of, and there are also personalities as well.
That little tiny.
Yeah.
I think in my sex ed, I mean, I went to a Catholic primary school, so it's probably a bad example anyway, but I don't remember in primary school ever, I don't remember the sex ed videos. I mean, I was shown 2 sexual education videos, so I knew nothing about sex at all. I mean, a lot of it was learning it through in secondary school, which was through Chinese whispers, which misinforms you anyway. But like I don't remember ever being mentioned that you may be into boys and girls. I think it just said boys and girls like each other, sort of thing. And that's even when I was younger. So around that sort of age, what kind of happened then when you sort of kind of came to terms with it a little bit more?
I wouldn't say that I came to terms with it. I just understood it.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't want to be.
Oh, I see.
Because it kind of made me different. And equally, my kind of, as far as I was concerned, my dad was really homophobic.
Right.
Or at least that's kind of that started to come into my consciousness.
Yeah.
More. I guess because he would say things
that
when I was that age. Yeah. So. I really, really didn't want to be at all. So, and initially I was like, okay, so I'm obviously bisexual because, I still want to be attracted to women and everything, and I'm not like that's much easier. So for a while, so I told someone quietly at school, that I was bisexual. I mean, in hindsight, what the hell I told her, I don't know. And then she went around and essentially announced it to everyone. So I was like, no. I'm not at all.
Yeah.
I was just testing you.
Yeah.
And now you got a big gob. So that's that. So that was it really. And I mean, I went to a rough school. My school was really rough, can tell. Apparently it's fine now. But at the time it was really, really rough.
Yeah, when I went to secondary school, I actually remember in year 10, like my friend, I think I mentioned, it was either during this podcast or before it, my friend Rob, I remember him and a few others there were chavs in the school who, they'd use, I mean, I was guilty of it when I was younger, using gay as like the negative, like a derogatory term, like, oh, those are gay, that sort of thing. Even though I think the majority of people who use that term would never, meaning gay was bad. Obviously, there were a lot, there were obviously, but majority was just a kind of passing word, which fortunately now has kind of come out of the thing now. But I remember they were these chavs and they'd chase the homosexuals around the school and throw rocks at them. That was, I'm 24. That was 10 years ago. That's it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's such a blink in the social sort of order of things compared to how long it's been, and it's obviously it's not like 2018. No one ever hates homosexuals anymore. It's not. It's not that easy, and it's so it must have been obviously, especially with the school and stuff. Like I'm sure everyone's been in school and remembers even one tiny rumor being spread about you, or one this or one that thing, and then if it's something that's the truth, and then everyone starts reacting sour, you kind of retract into your shell a bit. And you're like, oh god, like this is so much worse. Like I said this quietly because I was a little bit worried, and then suddenly it's the biggest thing in the world, and you can't come to terms with it as quickly.
You see, and it's I mean, I was worried because my mum's best mate worked at the school as well, so I was worried about it getting back to her. But I remember I just remembered this actually. I was gonna have a chat with my tutor, and I think I told her something else, or somehow it got around that she wasn't very good at keeping things private.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of went in there and was like, "Oh no, nothing, miss," and kind of completely backtracked, and that might have really helped if I'd have been able to speak to her at the time.
Yeah.
But, so it was a real missed opportunity for me. It was. I mean, it was difficult enough going to that school anyway.
Yeah.
Never mind, being gay or anything that made you different. Really, you were kind of
kids
picked on. Yeah,
seem to hate people being different.
But, I mean, what you have to remember is as well is that I grew. So I was 37 years old. I was born in 1981, so I went to school in the 80s, which was around the time that AIDS and HIV were really big. Really big in the news as the gay disease. Yeah. Which is where Section 28 and all that kind of came from. Really, it was a crap knee-jerk reaction to a societal problem.
Yeah.
So there was almost like this inseparable connection between that. If you were gay or if you were men into men, you were going to have. You were going to get HIV. That was it. So there was all kind of that sort of stuff that came into it as well. Once sex education was done, which wasn't until I was about 14, I think. I started having any sort of sex education whatsoever.
Yeah, I got 2 videos in year 5 or 6, I think it was, and then nothing else until I can't remember when in year. I think it was at least year 8 or 9. But it's like you need to try early, even just the general idea of sex, and slowly add to it rather than just 14. Well, half of you probably already had sex anyway. Here's a vague understanding of it, and just leave you to it. So it's great. I remember that sort of thing. I mean, it's one of those things where it's also shown in America's a good example, where in all the states where they have sex education, the least amount and at the latest age, they have the highest amount of teenage pregnancies and STIs, because it's just celibacy doesn't work ever, be it drugs or be it sex. I'm not going to get into a huge drug argument discussion here, but both of those things, it's shown that the more you tell someone don't do this, the more they end up wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And all you can do is really, people are going to do whatever they want anyway, or whatever they feel, so you should educate them and tell them to be as safe as they possibly can when doing such things.
Yeah.
And obviously the schools didn't do that, but
I mean, it's good that that's kind of or seems to be the main ethos behind it at sex education now. It's about people are going to get on and have sex, and it's better to kind of educate them around that. So when I used to be a youth worker, we would have like 13, 14-year-olds that we would give condoms to. And it's just a case of there's a thing called checking that their Fraser competent, which basically means so it was Fraser versus someone else, and it was a court case back in God knows how long, and it was a mum that took a school or a youth group or something to court,
right,
for giving their child a condom,
right,
or something like that, and it was deemed, and from that there were a set of guidelines that came out from, I think Fraser was the judge, that were criteria that had to be met for you to be able to give condoms to someone, so they had to kind of, they were going to go and do it anyway. Essentially that they were able to consent in the sense of that they knew what they were getting into, they were mature enough. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, and I remember we were shown how to put condoms on, I think around year 9. It was used the banana sort of example thing.
Yeah.
I think people from I think it's people from either Breakout or No Limits did actually come to the school actually around that time, because I think I remember talking to Catherine about it or something. But so going back slightly to the to when you were sort of 15, 16-ish, out of interest, when I was 14, I had friends in the school who were already having sex, and like my life as a young man was obviously, compared to a lot of people's lives, quite easy. In school, I was bullied a fair amount, but nothing like absolutely horrendous. But it was just a very unpleasant experience for me, and I was obviously a straight white guy who's, But I found that there's so many people who are having sex when they're 14, and then by the end of year 11, I was getting mocked for not having sex.
Yeah.
And that's not even before you're actually legally allowed to do it. Essentially. So
that's how it was when I was growing up as well. Though. Yeah. And the thing is, I think a lot of the time it was absolute bollocks anyway.
Yeah.
It's like they weren't, but it was almost like the in thing to say. And if you didn't say it, and if you couldn't get someone to go along with your story, then you were kind of mocked for not having sex.
It's weird and not very healthy for anyone. But hopefully, kids are starting to do that less. But I have no idea because I don't go into schools or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, so when you told that girl that you were bisexual, was that you were still in the mindset that you because you wanted to like women, that were you still thinking you were bi, or did it sort of slowly over time just kind of shift where you kind of knew at a point that you were gay, and then you were like, but you still kind of wanted to tell people you were bi for the more acceptance?
I think it was kind of like a safe step for me, really, that it was kind of partial admittance that I like guys. So I admitted that I like guys, but it was easier to kind of say, but I still like women as well.
Yeah.
And that was more to do with the way that my head was working, and my own processes of acceptance more than kind of societal stuff. And actually, there's a lot of campaigning and stuff around bisexual rights now, and there was then as well, because they feel like they're marginalised by both communities, the straight community and the gay community.
I see.
So it's not necessarily something that I would have chosen to be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't anyway.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and in hindsight, if you go back to, like, I remember when I was at primary school, and I had little girlfriends, and we'd play kiss chase and all things like that. But then in hindsight, I can remember. Sorry, I'm kind of reminiscing. I've gone off piece a little bit.
That's good.
But I remember kind of there were feelings that I had for certain people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an attraction. It was just a feeling. I couldn't tell you what it was. And I only worked out what that was when I bumped into one of the boys that I went to school with in a gay club, and I was like, "That's what that feeling was."
Oh.
It was just he was similar.
I see. It was like like a lot of people say with attraction, especially when you're that young, you can't work it out essentially. But even at this age, you have that thing, like I mentioned earlier, that spark almost. But a lot of it is hormones, and a lot of it's smell and things you don't even twig. Like a lot of attraction, what people don't know is a lot of how you feel attracted to someone is by the scent they're letting off, and you may not even realise that it's the scent, but it's all these weird subtleties and things. So well, that's very interesting. Well, like so when did what sort of did you go to college?
I went to college twice and dropped out twice.
I see. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of education myself.
No,
I'm bad at staying in it, but yeah. So what happened then as your sort of teen years got later?
So I went to Barton Peveril.
Okay.
Because I kind of felt obliged to go to college.
Yeah.
And I partly picked Barton Peveril because that's where the vast majority of my school weren't going.
Yeah. Okay.
And kind of my best mates as they were, all went there, and I dropped them like. I intentionally just moved away from them and didn't want anything to do with them because they'd equally given me a hard time at school as well.
Oh, okay. I see.
So I was like, okay, you're not that good a mate, really.
Yeah.
So I can't remember how long. So I lasted pretty much the year at Barton Peveril, and I came out in a big way when I was there. As gay.
Yeah.
I came out of my theatre studies class, and again I told one person, and then I heard it kind of going around the room in Chinese whispers.
Yeah. Sort
of like, he said he's gay.
Right.
Just in case you didn't know what whispers were. I just demonstrate that for you. And I was like, do you know what? This is ridiculous. So I just kind of stood up and announced it. I was like, look, I've got an announcement to make. I'm gay.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I feel really, really sorry for him. But I kind of made a big point of going, and I fancy you, and pointing right at, and I'm not even exaggerating. He almost fell off his seat. I was like, in hindsight, it was a really bit over the top sort of thing to do. I was absolutely hated by my theatre studies teacher as well, who was I had two of them, and the male was gay as well.
Right.
And just absolutely hated me.
Really?
Absolutely hated me. I think because I was so overtly gay in the sense of I was kind of announced it, and I was like, I was having the time of my life.
Yeah.
You know, kind of exploring what that meant to kind of be gay for me.
Yeah.
You know, and by that I don't mean going around and shagging loads of people. I did go around and shag loads of people, but that's not what I mean. You know, it was so much more fun, and I just had such a better time. Yeah. At college, because I was kind of you know, I had better friends who just didn't judge me. Yeah. And I on the college bus, that was where I met my best mate, that became my absolute best mate. And I remember I gave her, and we'd been chatting. She was a year above me, and we'd been chatting, and I gave her a note to come out to her, sort of saying, "I'll understand if you don't want to speak to me anymore, but you need to know that I'm gay." And she was like, she wrote back going, "You're a dickhead. I'm gay as well." And I was like, "Oh, okay, brilliant." So we went to the Edge together for the first time, and you know, and that was really, really. It was so cool to kind of have someone that I could do that with as well. Yeah. And someone who had relatively similar life experiences to me. Yeah. For ages with my parents, I was trying to pass her off as my girlfriend. It was my kind of cover story. Yeah. They've since told me it didn't work. They knew that she was a lesbian from the moment they met her. I see. But college was good, and it was. I don't know. I can't explain to you the feeling, but it was literally like
a weight off your shoulders almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like some people talk about coming out of the closet and things like that, and some people sort of say they exploded out of the closet. I pretty much did, because I was, you know, because I'd been held back so much
and repressing it a lot and that sort of thing, and kind of hiding yourself,
not even knowing that it existed for a lot of the time. Yeah, you know, and not knowing that it was normal. So to then go somewhere where I could then express myself, and you know, it was amazing. Unfortunately, it wasn't really conducive to kind of good study practices. Right. So so I was kind of out getting shit-faced every single night of the week in the end, but within the year. And I'd kind of gone out, had the first sexual experience with a man, and was like, "Oh yes, I definitely am." 'Cause, you know, up until that point, I wasn't 100% sure how I'd take to it. Yeah. Took to it like a duck to water. But yeah, so it was college. I really, really loved that year at college. I really had the time of my life.
And then what? When did you drop out? Was it because of college, or did you kind of drop out because you weren't into the education you did, or because you were getting shit-faced, you didn't do very good?
They essentially asked me to stop coming. I said that to not be registered with them anymore. I pretty much stopped coming anyway. Okay. You know, I think I was half an hour late for an A-level biology exam, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Yeah, I can imagine at that sort of age and things like that, you can. It is a weird thing of like, because obviously one of the reasons I want to get you on is because I want to talk about this, because I'm fortunate in the sense that I didn't have to come to terms with myself in that way. I had to kind of find myself and try not to be a dickhead of just normal accord. I didn't have this.
That didn't go well, did it?
No, it didn't. It went terribly. I still haven't learned. But it's that pressure. It's you know, with all the things, and I just think that it's so upsetting to me to know that there's anyone out there who won't accept people for something that's not only not their choice, but is also, it doesn't make any difference at all. Yeah. That's like the biggest thing, you know. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, if you're going to judge people for getting face tattoos, for example, you know, it's becoming much more of a social norm now. But I'm not the biggest fan of face tattoos, but I don't really care. But that is completely a choice. You can live your life and never get a face tattoo. You can be happy, but you can't. One of the things that I think that homophobes just don't understand, excluding the ones who are gay themselves, who are like, you know, which I will get into in a bit, because I want to ask you about a couple of things about that. But it's more just like, one thing that I try and would say to people if they can't empathise in a sense is just imagine the other way around. Like, imagine anyone straight had to never
kiss or be with someone who they are physically attracted to, and be with someone, trying to force yourself to be with someone that you're not. And there can be times where, you know, I've been in relationships before where I've been happy for a long period of time, then there's been a period where I'm like, I'm not really into this person anymore, and I'm not really sure, and it's a weird feeling, and that's still physically attracted to them. If you're in a relationship with someone and you don't want to be with them anymore, and it can be this weird middle groundy thing, and you don't feel comfortable at all, and that's that's still, you know, hurdles away from being different gender to what you're attracted to. So that is mad. So with your parents, did they kind of tell you they knew, or did they wait for you to tell them, or when did they?
No, that was really traumatic. So you know, so I mean, I went to college another time, so I dropped out after that. Then my elder sister persuaded me to then go to Eastleigh College, because that was like the right thing to do, and that's what my parents wanted.
Yeah.
So what was that? So I would have been about 17. So 16, 17 would have been the year that I was going in. And I mean, that only lasted 6 months because the same thing happened.
I see. Much. Yeah.
And while I was there, I met, I can't remember exactly how, but basically I met someone, more than likely slept with them, who was a member of Breakout.
Okay, yeah.
And then they took me to Breakout, which was amazing.
Would you want to tell people what Breakout is? Because you describe it would be much better than me.
So Breakout. So I mean, it's changed a bit over the years, but at the time, Breakout, the spiel was Breakout was a youth group for 13 to 25-year-olds who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, or unsure of their gender or sexual identity. So it's quite a big old spiel.
The kind of big old LGBTQ plus thing at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. Although then it was pretty much just LGBT. And that was it. So I kind of started going to Breakout, which was amazing as well, because that just meant that there were other people of my age or similar age who had the exact same, or not the exact same experience, but were having similar experiences to me.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool. It was really supportive and probably genuinely saved my life, I would say as well, you know.
Okay, yeah. Well, community is so important with anything in life, whether it be just friends or this, that, the other, but anything in your life that is causing you any kind of issue, having a community around that and a support network is paramount to getting through it. You know, and obviously when you don't have that, it becomes much more difficult, and you've got all these questions and feelings and things about yourself that you almost can't answer, but a lot of the time you don't even know what the questions are to get the answer. A lot of the time it's not, you know, oh, should I feel this way or not? It's more, I don't actually know what it is I'm feeling right now at all. So how do you articulate that? So I can understand to a degree of that. It's nice to hear that there was that group at least for you.
Yeah. And it was, you know, it was that inspired me to go on and do youth work, but that was after a few years of being there. Anyway, so the reason why I talked about Breakout is because that was where I met my first, I say serious boyfriend, because I was going out with people. I went out with someone for like a week.
That's what.
You know, which was very serious back then. And I went out with Ollie for 6 months, and during that time, I came out to my elder sister. So I told my elder sister, who lived 8 doors down the road with her husband and my nephew, and I told her I bumped into one of her best mates while I was out clubbing, who I knew was bisexual. She knew was bisexual. Everyone knew was bisexual. It wasn't a big mystery. And he's like, I promise I won't say a word to her. But I just kind of felt like I wanted to take control of the situation because I was worried. So I called her and said, look, can you come up the road for a minute? I've got something to tell you.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'm in the middle of baking a cake or something like that. And I was like, can you just come up now? She's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, look, please just come up now. And I pretty much really dramatically flung the front door open when she arrived and went, I'm gay. And she went, I know. And I love you, and it makes no difference to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
But don't tell mum and dad.
Right, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was that. And then, I don't know. I don't know the exact time scale, but within months, definitely, maybe weeks. I got in one night from having been out boozing it again.
Yeah.
And my younger sister was still sat up, randomly reading the newspaper.
It almost sounds comical.
I know. I don't know. I think that's the only time I've ever known her read the newspaper.
Just that one moment in her life.
Yeah, it's very weird. Anyway, so we were just kind of sat chatting.
Yeah.
And we were kind of, kind of talking really quickly and fast and kind of really, and then just kind of really quickly dropped the conversation on, by the way, I'm gay, and carried on and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we just kind of carried on talking to her, and like it kind of almost dawned on her, and she was kind of like pulled the newspaper up to her face and was like, "Oh my God, you're a bum bandit."
Oh wow.
And I was like, "Well, amongst other things, yeah, maybe." She's like, "Oh my God, oh don't tell my friends." She's like, "But it's okay, it's fine.
Right. Okay.
I don't mind." So she was kind of okay with it. She was okay-ish. She was more worried about her reputation at school more than anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, as long as it's all about you, that's fine.
Right.
So this is a very long way of saying how I came out to my parents. So then I was round my boyfriend Ollie's place, and Marie randomly phoned me. And this is back in the day when you had one PC and the internet was dial-up.
I remember those. I was at the cusp of that when you get a phone call when you're on the internet and it cuts everything out as well. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you'd have to get. I'd be being shouted at by my parents. Get off the internet. We need to use the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Those days.
I mean, archaic.
I know people were like, but your phone is the internet. It's like, no, you don't understand. There used to be separate things that couldn't coexist. But yeah.
So, yeah. So and it would take forever and a day to download. Let's say, for example, you wanted to download a dirty picture of someone's penis, which I was very keen on doing at the time. But because I was the most technologically minded in the family, I could kind of hide it in a deep, dark back file where I didn't think anyone would go. Anyway, so my sister phoned me while I was at my boyfriend's and went, "You're going to have to come home." They found something on the computer.
Oh, God.
Now, I obviously knew that there was... I don't know. You could do a good survey with the amount of penises I had on the computer.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She was only joking.
Oh.
So anyway, so I was like, well, that's it. That's the end of my family. They will not want to know me anymore. I, loads of tears. I was really, really upset. And then Ollie was like, right, I'm just going to go upstairs and use the loo. You put your shoes on, and then we're going. We just have to go and have it out.
Yeah.
And while he was up there, I literally was off down to, and he lived in Fareham. I was off down to Fareham train station, and I was genuinely going to go and just get on the train and go and just live on the streets in London, because I thought that was it. I thought that I was just going to get disowned by my family. I thought, my two sisters that I had told, they were all right with it, but actually Dad would kind of overrule that, and that would be the end of it. So, and then he kind of came running after me and found me and dragged me back. Honestly, it was just like a scene from like EastEnders or something like that. And then we drove back and we picked up my mate Sam, who my parents knew anyway, who, I mean, in hindsight, was one of the biggest gays on the planet. But I thought because he was into football, therefore my parents would think he was straight. Anyway. So then I took him round rather than Ollie, and then just sat Mum and Dad down in the front room and was like, "Yeah, I've got something to tell you. You're not going to like it very much. I'm gay." And they both went, well, my mum went, "Yeah, we know. We've known since you were at school." And I was like, "Well, you could have told me, because this has been a lot of heartache." And then she was like, "Your dad, I've discussed it with your dad, and he doesn't like it.
Right.
But you're his son, and he will deal with it," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then my dad was like, don't start wearing your mother's knickers." And I was like, "Dad, that's an entirely different thing, and they're not really my colour." So that was that. And then my mum was like, "So yeah, that's okay, but we don't want to know anything about boyfriends or about sex or anything like that." So essentially, anything about being gay, they didn't want to know about. But they were comfortable with that. I think from that point onwards, my dad thought I was some sort of male whore,
right?
And still does to this day, even whilst I was in a relationship with Arn.
Right, I see.
He seemed to be, if I was going around anyone who was male, I think in his head I was having sex with them.
Yeah, that is a weird thing. I was guilty of that when I was guilty of that mindset when I was in, I think it was year 7 or 8. I remember there was a moment where I spoke to Catherine, and we were talking about homosexuality and stuff, and I remember saying this, and obviously I do not feel this way anymore at all, but I said, "Oh, I think this person might be gay." And okay, that's cool. Are you all right with that? And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine with that. I just, probably wouldn't have over sleepovers anymore. And she was like, "Well, why?" And I was like, "Well, they probably want to, And she was like, "What?" And then I had a conversation with her. Obviously, this was when I was quite young and stupid. But some people who are adults still have that mindset, which is ridiculous. But to very easily combat that, of anyone who thinks that, is just like, if you think every gay will have sex, or every gay man will have sex with every man, well, not every straight man will have sex with every woman. Therefore, it make that you don't even need to look any further than that. It's that simple. People like to. It's like being straight is this standard, normal. There's nothing weird in any way, shape, or form about it being straight. Even though there's a lot of weird things that straight people do. But then being gay because it's something that's different, or it means that it's a completely different kettle of fish. And it's really like, well, no, people just kind of like what they like. You get people who are gay or straight who are very vanilla about everything. You get people who like everything and like everything. Everyone is completely different. That's the thing.
There's straight men who are into anal.
Oh yeah,
in a big way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that me personally, I haven't gone down that road, but I don't really want to go down that road, if I'm being completely honest. Just I'm not comfortable enough with my own anus. And so,
it's quite important.
Well, yeah. And I've been known to, unfortunately, have hemorrhoids in the past, which is
That's a good way of pushing them back in.
Well, there you go. Yeah, just thumb it in. But, excluding that, I mean, I don't think I know any of my mates who openly talk about them having that done to them. But I remember in college, late in college, I remember a female friend of mine telling me that their boyfriend at the time liked in the ass. And I was like, and it didn't even, I wasn't like, oh, he's gay. I hadn't clicked, and I was like, well, it's not. A male asshole isn't gay. It's especially when it's your own. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, if I like things up my ass, but I don't like male genitalia, then, they are two separate things. People associate it, which is quite funny because anal now, because obviously the world is generally becoming a bit more liberal, obviously more straight couples are trying out anal and things like that, or they're at least admitting they are.
It's where the male G-spot is.
Exactly, and it's it's apparently can be more powerful orgasm than from penis and things.
Yes,
it's like so I don't want to assume, but obviously I don't want to push this question on you. And you're like, don't you?
Yeah.
But so it's that it's that sort of thing, and it's just like people. It always boils down to this thing of just like, I've had conversations on the podcast about drugs, about veganism, about all sorts of other things. It's like anything is just, you should be able to do kind of whatever you want or whatever you need.
Yeah.
That's basically it,
As long as it doesn't hurt anyone else.
100%.
Does it make?
As long as it's like, and obviously being gay doesn't hurt anyone. It's so...
Unless they're into that.
And that's what I always say.
Yeah.
I say, if someone's gay, okay, it doesn't hurt anyone, except maybe the person they're being gay with, if they like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
if you like a bit of choking, you can hurt each other all you want. Just be careful about it.
Exactly. And it's not, again, it's another thing that's not exclusive to being gay. There's
of course
plenty of heterosexual people that are into...
bondage and all that sort of stuff,
asphyxiation and all sorts.
100%. It's one of those things where it's like, there's not really anything sexually that is actually exclusively gay or straight at all. It is literally just the gender of the individuals involved. That's the only. Everything else you can do. You can, it's like lesbians. It's like, they're not weirdly straight from using a strap on. It's not, it's these weird, people like to put these weird arbitrary lines in the sand in really random places when they shouldn't be. It's just, people do whatever they do, and that's that. So with your dad and stuff, have you, you don't have to go super far into this because it's quite personal now, but like, did you find he got better with age? Did your mum or is it kind of...
Yeah, they've definitely chilled out over the years.
Yeah.
They've kind of met some of my mates. For a while, one of my mates who's a drag queen lived next door but one to us.
Yeah.
So, and we'll park his van on our driveway, and we'd just come around like in partial drags, like a face full of makeup.
Yeah.
But dressed as a boy.
Yeah.
And, come in and speak to my dad and sort of put a wig on him and stuff like that, So that's about as outrageous as you can get, really, as drag queen.
Yeah, yeah.
So my dad's pretty kind of all right with it now. He found it quite amusing. He will still use some derogatory terms. He's a bit of a kind of your stereotypical old man, really.
Yeah.
So some of the racist terms and kind of homophobic terms and everything. And that's just partly because it's what he's grown up with, I think.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's not excusing it. It doesn't make it right, and I challenge him on it every time, as does everyone else in my family.
Yeah.
But it's kind of ingrained in him, and I think he's reached an age now as well where he's regressing a little bit. So he may have learnt not to say some of the things, but now he's getting to the point where he doesn't care.
Yeah, so, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. But generally speaking, he's all right, and I was really worried. So obviously, I make it sound like he's dead. You know Arn, my ex-partner who I was with for nearly 7 years. And I was really worried about introducing him because they'd said this whole, we don't want to know anything about boyfriends or sex or anything like that. I was really worried about introducing him to them.
Yeah.
And actually they love him. They get on like a house on fire.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they still do. They're still, it's been really important to me that they've maintained that relationship because they got on so well.
Yeah.
You know, so so that was really good, and I was really touched with kind of how much of an effort they made to get on with him as well.
Yeah.
You know? And things like none of my sisters has ever had their boyfriends allowed to like, no matter how long they've been with them, they were not allowed their boyfriends over to stay.
Right.
I was allowed Arn over to stay.
Oh wow, yeah.
You know, which was a massive thing.
Yeah, I can imagine, definitely.
Yeah. You know, and I didn't ask. My mum offered.
Oh, that's even a bigger thing as well. If they've thought about it, like they've thought about how you feel, how they feel about it all, and they've come to terms with that in their own sense, it's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've said whenever I most likely end up having children, I've always been like, what I'm hoping is, well, say I don't know, find the right person tomorrow, I have a kid next year, which I'm not planning on, and say 20 years from tomorrow, you know, they're 19 or whatever, that would be actually way too far for them to come out, so let's retract that. Let's say, I don't know, 12 or 13 or whatever. I would never want to be the kind of parent where they have to come home and say, by the way, I'm gay, or you don't come out for being straight, so why should you come out for being gay? I just want my child just come home, and when they're with someone, they're like, this is Dan, or this is Beth, or this is whoever, I don't care, as long as they're with someone who's clearly not a dick, which is probably going to happen because teenagers make terrible decisions a lot of the time. It's like, if you're with someone, that's it. It's not my business. It's my business is your protection, and if you're with a male or a female, that has nothing to do with it. You know, so I just want it. I'm hoping that as society is progressing, it is becoming this way of whenever I raise my children, I'll be like, you know, when they're young, before they even really understand sexuality, I'll be like, some people like boys, some people like girls, some people like both, some people like neither. You can like, we can't. It's not as easy to say you can like because it makes it sound like it's a choice. But you know what I mean? Like, I'll just be like, you know, whoever you end up liking, that's okay with me. I don't want you to come out or make a big song and dance about it. But if you want to make a song and dance about it because it makes you more comfortable,
big show
go
number.
ahead. Yeah, have like coming out, I'm gay, throwing confetti around, the biggest stereotypical gay thing.
I think that'd be nice.
Just like come into the front room. You know, me and my partner. And my 14-year-old son comes in and just does the whole rendition of Rent. And that's how
I would love that.
That would be great. The amount of effort that would take would be yeah. But okay, well, so let's get into. I want to touch a little bit on sort of, if you don't mind talking about this, the sort of.
Can we just have a break for a minute?
You want to have a break?
Just get a bit of air in here.
It's hot as hell, isn't it?
Freaking hot. Yeah,
it is boiling. Well, I'll pause this then because it's almost been an hour, so that's fine.
It's been an hour.
Almost. It's been 45 minutes.
Bloody hell.
I know.
Okay. It was quick.
And back from the break. Don't know if I'll include the break in or not in the podcast. I'll see how it sounds. But anyway.
Just put like an advert on there or something.
I could. That'd be good. That'd be clever. Just do that. I'll probably split this in two though. I don't normally release a whole episode of like 2 hours. I generally split it. Partially because getting new listeners to listen for like, you know, for an hour is much easier than for 2 hours. But also because then I only need to record. If certain people I record podcasts with, they only last an hour, and that's perfectly fine. Because sometimes if they last a lot longer, I can split it, and then I don't have to worry about recording every single week. I can often. What I try and do is record. I don't know. In a month, if I try and record like 4 towards the start of the month, if they're 2 hours on each, that basically sorts me for 2 months, and then I've got, you know, the following 7 weeks, and I don't need to find one every week. I can be a bit more lax about it. And if people cancel or postpone or any scheduling changes, then it becomes a lot easier for that. But getting straight back into it. I was going to say you mentioned that article thing while we had our break. I know you said. Did you say you could find it or you couldn't? Or
I can't find it specifically, but there's all sorts of articles that have come out about it, and. You know, they're kind of questioning whether people feel comfortable doing things like holding hands, walking down the street and things like that. And about 3/4 of the respondents of 100,000 people said that they didn't. You know, and I think there are areas within the UK where it's probably a bit more accepted. You know, Brighton, Manchester, they're considered two like kind of gay hubs almost.
Especially Brighton, it's known as the gay capital of the UK.
Yeah, but there's a lot of homophobic attacks that happen in Brighton. You know, so it's still not as safe as you would think it would be. Yeah,
I mean, it should be one of those things of you should be able to walk down the street and hold hands with, you know, the person you love, and that excluding like ridiculous age things, which is a whole other kettle of fish. But like excluding that area of things, it should just be if you're gay or straight or bi or whatever, you hold hands with someone, you shouldn't even have to think about it. I mean, it was like I had a teacher in college, a psychology teacher, and she's married to an Indian man. Well, he's of Indian descent, I should say. And she used to live in Bradford. And she said when she moved to Southampton, what was weird is her and her boyfriend at the time could walk down the street in Southampton and no one would say anything. But she said in Bradford, you get people, she said you could basically not be out for more than an hour and someone shouting a racist slur against him. And I was, and this was only, this was when I was 17, 18. So it's only about 6 or 7 years ago. And she was like, yeah, that just happens in Bradford. I came down here expecting it and it wasn't at all. And I was like, people still do that in England. I was like, I know there's not everyone, there are still racists and still stupid assholes out there, but I was like, it's so common in, not just, I'm not trying to bash Bradford, but like further up north, it's just like, it's this weird old conservative viewpoint of looking at things. So it's,
I mean, you don't have to go very far though. You can go to Totton from Southampton, and actually it's really, really very ethnically diverse. Like I said, I work at Totton College.
Yeah.
And the school that I went to, Cantal, was about as ethnically diverse as you can get.
Same as my school.
Yeah. There was, I can't remember exactly how many, but there were an insane amount of first languages spoken there. And when I first started working at Totton College, I was like, holy shit, there's hardly, in fact, I don't think there was anyone that wasn't white.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? And it's like, I can imagine, if I go to certain places, I don't notice when there's when it's sort of ethnically diverse because I'm used to that. I notice when it's not. If I go to an area and I'm in like a specific area and I notice there's a lot of Caucasians, I'm just a bit like, I've only just noticed, and I noticed that, and I'm white, I don't have to worry about it, but I can imagine that if you are of a different ethnicity, you can then, that's just another thing to worry about. Obviously, if you're homosexual, there are still people who are bigots against that.
Oh, yeah.
If you're black, there's still people who are racist, and it's like all these little differences of people, which don't make any difference to the individual of what kind of person you are. It's like, you being gay doesn't mean that you are a certain way, you're this way or that way. It means you like men, and your personality is not intertwined with that. No. I think that's the problem that I'll see a lot of the stereotypes come from as well. And it's people do it with a lot of things. People do it with black people. It's anyone who's different from basically straight white, even often male. I mean, to be honest with you, straight white male, you're meant to like football and beer and be air quotes manly, and if you're a woman, obviously it doesn't happen anywhere near as much, thank God, but there's that underlying misogyny of women belong in the kitchen, women don't know about politics, women shouldn't have jobs, and it's just like all this shit, and it's just like I've always said that regardless of, if you met, an example would be, okay, if I met 4,000 gay men and they were all very, very flamboyant, that doesn't mean every gay man's flamboyant. No. And if I met the 4,001st gay man, I can't just assume he's going to be overly flamboyant. It's just every person is an individual. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how many similarities there can be between certain groups of individuals, but it's like every individual person, black, white, gay, straight, man, woman, anything, has to be treated as such, as an individual. No preconceptions or anything. And that's just how it should be for everything. But people don't seem to do that, and it triggers me so much. It just gets so under my skin. I'm just like, people are so dumb and so hateful, and it kills me. And I'm just a straight white man who hasn't. I'm lucky enough to not have been a victim of these sorts of bigoted attacks for being different in that sense. The worst I got was being bullied for being fat, and that's my struggle was nowhere near as bad as anything else. It's like,
but it's still picking on an aspect of you, though.
Yeah, 100%. It's the small parallel I can kind of draw of, I was bullied in school, so I have that degree of sympathy, but not in obviously the same way. Comparing it to what you went through is very different, but it's that tiny thing. But I kind of want to link this on to, before we had the break, was have you had anyone being, both in your teenage life, in your adult life, and even now, people who are still overtly prejudiced against you or bigoted against you for being homosexual?
I mean, I've been quite lucky in the sense of I haven't had a huge amount of that I've directly been involved in.
Yeah.
I worked at a gay pub. I worked at gay clubs for a while, DJing. And I'd be kind of witness to homophobic stuff. people kind of yelling some sort of homophobic slur and throwing a bottle over the wall or something like that. So there was that. When I was 17, maybe, I was just walking back, and I wasn't dressed like a showgirl or anything like that, so I wasn't particularly extrovert about it.
Yeah.
But I was punched on the side of the head by someone I didn't know who was just walking down the street and just literally just thumped me for no reason. I went, fucking queer.
Wow. Okay.
You know, and it's like, and because apparently I had a gay haircut.
Right.
Which, you know, I wasn't aware that there was such a thing as a gay haircut.
Nor was I.
But apparently there is. But that's the only time that I've been, or that I can remember, that I've been directly kind of abused. I don't know. I think that's too strong a word, but kind of had
pigeonholed in a
way.
Yeah. Judged. Oh, he's like this because he's gay. Sort of thing.
Yeah. You know, and being given grief because of it. There've been times when, you know, I might be with my mates and someone's shouted something and I missed it, and they're like, you know, and they kind of kick off, and I'm like, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear what they said. I was actually listening to you rather than listening to everyone else. Yeah. You know, so I mean, it's out there, and I've kind of experienced it, but I've been lucky that I haven't necessarily experienced a huge amount directly. Yeah,
well, that's good to hear, at least in that aspect. I mean, my cousin Charlotte, she told me before where she's a lesbian, and she told me I can't remember when it was. It was towards the end of school, I think it was. She had people just literally throwing rocks at her because she was gay, and she's 30 now, so she's so we're between our ages, and she was like, she just. Well, I think it was, she was walking down the street and someone from her school just threw rocks at her, calling her gay, and it was like, what? Yeah. And I said before, you know, people in my old school used to do that, the chavs a lot of the time. It's just like, so it kind of going from that point, I want to ask, because I briefly touched upon it earlier, which was, have you found at all in your experience that anyone who is at school, for example, overtly homophobic turns out being gay? I know that's quite a... Yeah. I'm not saying you would know every gay person who ever... But
let me look at my directory.
Yeah, just let me call up every gay person in Southampton, and we're on a monthly gay meeting. Yeah. That's what I say to my cousin Charlotte. I always make jokes with her and her girlfriend about the lesbian agenda and the gay agenda. So the fact that even terminology exists for anything other than a joke is so baffling to me. And if they ever talk about anything like I really like this new place, I go, you lesbians, you're trying to get the lesbian agenda. You meet at your monthly meetings, don't you? You're men hating. And she's like, we always do. We decide what goes in and out of fashion and that sort of thing.
There is a document that we all kind of have to sign up for when we come out.
Yeah, I can imagine. The queers letter.
Yes, pretty much.
But have you, out of just vague interest, have you ever...
Me? I was really homophobic for a while when I was first kind of exploring these feelings and thinking about it. It was almost like it was a bit of a misogynist as well, really. I do things like bring like page 3 of the Sun and go, "Whoa, look at those tits." Yeah. Knowing that I wasn't in the blindest bit interested in them. You know, and kind of showing them to my mates, saying, "Hey!" Yeah. I don't know that anyone believed me. Because I was like, "Look at her hair; it's lovely as well." But yeah, you know, and I have known people who have been not necessarily homophobic towards me. I was definitely at college with someone who was really would say derogatory things about me. Yeah. You know, to I've never considered him a mate, but to some of my mates who he was also mates with as well. Yeah. You know, and I would say at the time to our mates, he's gay. I'm telling you, he's gay. That's what the issue is. Yeah. And he has, you know, and since he's come out, and so yeah, it's a very common thing, and you know they've done studies with it over the years, haven't they, where they kind of strap up some bloke's penis and show him pictures of all sorts of stuff, and judge how much he reacts, how much of a twitch there is for certain things. Yeah, yeah. You know, and I think it's every person that's overtly homophobic has kind of got some sort of or shows some sort of physical attraction or disturbance within the nether regions, shall we say, when homosexual sort of pictures come up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's the end of part 1. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. Part 2 will be released next week at the same sort of time, where mine and Steve's discussion sort of continues. We talk about whether or not one is ever sort of born gay, or if there's sort of genetic markers that can sort of dictate someone's sexuality. We also talk about Steve's work with Breakout and No Limits, City Reach, his sort of youth work, and also we go on about sort of changing our names and mistaken names, things like that. We've gone for a random little tangent about that. We also speak about Polari, which is the gay language, which I wasn't aware it was even a thing, that back before homosexuality was legal, there was actually a language people would speak to be able to find out if other people were gay, and that's really interesting to hear about. So it's a great chat, really. And we do talk about a few other things. We do get into transgender a little bit more, and sort of other kin. We also talk about the treatment of women and the progress that's been over the last 30 years. So all in all, this chat, part one that you just listened to, as well as part two, they go together really, really well. So, you know, if you've listened this far and if you've enjoyed what you've heard, I'd really, really appreciate it if you listen to the next week's one as well, because I'm sure you'll enjoy it. That's about it, really, for this week. So, you know, thanks as always for tuning in, guys. I appreciate anyone listening this far into the podcast, right to the very end. If you feel like if you feel like this show deserves it, go on iTunes, rate us 5-star. If you think it deserves 5-star, that is. You don't even have to write a full review. You can just go on there, click the star rating, and you can leave it at that. That would be incredible. And if you want to keep up to date with things, follow Genuine Chit-Chat on Twitter, where I normally just kind of spout out random thoughts that I have sometimes. And then you can also go on Instagram, where I sometimes post some of those tweets, but I also often I put notes down when new episodes come out. They often are accompanied with photos, like the one last week about sort of mine, Wayne and Josh's sort of some animals of ours that we really liked, the Komodo dragon, that sort of thing. There's images up of that as well. The one I did with Molly, there's a picture of me and Molly up there. I try and post on there relatively every day. Sometimes it's a little bit about movies, sometimes about music, potential podcast guests, other podcasts in general, episodes that are released. So if you do enjoy the show, follow me on Instagram, or us, I like to say us even though it's just me, genuine_chit-chat. Twitter and Facebook is just Genuine Chit-Chat. I don't know why one had the underscore and one didn't. It's because I'm probably just a moron. So yeah, thanks as always for tuning in, guys, and I'll talk to you next week.